Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Tina and this is Transform Your Mind, Transform Your Life. So I wanted to talk about the new Doctor Strange movie. Me and my husband, we went to go see it last Friday, and I gotta say, I am a huge fan of the Marvel Universe. I may have never read any of the comics, but I grew up watching the X-Men animated series when I was younger. That happened in the 90s. I also played the video games growing up, especially on Xbox had the Avengers or something like that. I can't remember, it was a while ago. But I've played those games. I've always been a fan of anything Marvel. I would watch all the X-Men movies. I've seen almost every Marvel movie there is. So I'm a huge fan. I know some of the characters outside of just the actual movie, like when the Captain Marvel series, when the Captain Marvel movie came out, I already knew who she was. In the video game that I played, I think it was the Avengers or something like that for the Xbox, she was referred to as Miss Marvel, and I read some of her background, and she was a very interesting character, so I already knew that going into watching that actual movie. But Doctor Strange, which I knew a tiny bit of before watching the actual movies that came out, was always kind of strange to me. No pun intended. But he was a little strange to me because I didn't really understand metaphysics at that point. And I'm still learning about what all metaphysics is about and what it all involves and stuff. I know it's made its way into popular culture with shows like Big Bang Theory, where they talk about parallel universes and dark matter and all that stuff, but it was just, I never could fully get into the Doctor Strange character because it was just too weird and out there for me. But because I've been doing more research on metaphysics and learning more about that type of stuff, this movie I could actually really get into, and instead of thinking like this is some weird stuff like I did the last time I watched a Doctor Strange movie, now I'm sitting there thinking like, what if? Like, this could actually be possible. So there are going to be spoilers. If you have not seen the movie, you probably want to click off right about now, because I'm about to get into some of the details of the movie. I'll give you a minute. Alright, so one of the things that came up in the new Doctor Strange movie was the parallel universes, the multiverse, and all that stuff. And in the beginning, you see Doctor Strange with a young Latinx woman, and he's running through and stuff, and I was thinking like, this doesn't seem like, you know, Doctor Strange really. It seemed a little different, because I was like, why has he got that ponytail? It was weird. But I was watching it, and then I was like, and then I figured out, I was like, it was a dream before they, you know, said it was a dream. Because he died. And I was like, man, it's got to be a dream. Because he died. I was like, how you going to die in the first, like, 5 minutes of your own movie? But it was a dream. And then it came out after he met this girl in person that when we dream, we actually see what's going on with our parallel selves in these other universes. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, what if that's true? And a weird and interesting fact about me, I do not dream in first person for whatever reason. I don't know why. I've never really dreamt in first person. I always dream like I'm either watching myself on TV, or it's like I can see part of myself. Like there's a camera and my view is from the camera that sees me instead of actual first person view. I rarely have first person view dreams. It's hard to explain, but I just know that that's not how I dream. So when I do get first person dreams, I started thinking like, oh, what if that is my life in another universe? Like, it's kind of like weird and interesting. I mean, there's no way to really disprove it, and there's no way to prove it, but I'm just like, for me personally, since I don't dream in first person, it's very interesting, because it's like what he said in the movie. It was like, it felt so real. It felt like I was actually doing X, Y, and Z. And I was like, that's how I feel when I dream in first person. Like, it feels so real. And the only way that I know that I am dreaming is if I ever have to deal with numbers in my dream. So, and this is a cool little trick if you want to try to get into lucid dreaming. The biggest way to know that you're dreaming and to actually get into having a lucid dream is if there's like a clock or some sort of time or anything like that in your dream, it always changes, and then you become aware that you're having a dream. But when I become aware I'm having a dream when I'm looking at numbers, I never wake up. So at that point, I can like lucid dream if I wanted to. So look at that next time you have a dream. They said you never look at yourself in the mirror, like you never see your reflection in a dream or something like that too. And I felt like I've disproved that with a couple of my dreams where I've had to look in the mirror. But as far as the time thing has always been something that was very true for me. Every time I look at the time in a dream, it always changes. Whether it's like a watch, whether it's a clock on the wall, it doesn't matter if it's digital or analog, if it's on my phone, whatever, the numbers always change. So if you're into trying to lucid dream, check that out. But regardless, it just became very interesting, and I just kept thinking like, what if with that. So I really did like that part of the movie, because like I said, I'm in a different mindset now where I can be more open to those possibilities, and so I watched this movie this time around thinking like, man, that would be cool. I wonder if we're all like Doctor Strange in a sense, where we could just learn these things. We can unlock certain parts of our brain and manipulate matter and electricity like they do, and do really cool stuff. But I'm sure there'll be super villains out there. Anyways, that was a part that I wanted to bring up that I thought was really cool and interesting. And the Scarlet Witch. So listen. In the ending, I was just like, they should have did that within like the first 20 minutes of this movie. Like, she wanted to see her kids because she kept dreaming of her parallel life where she was with her sons. And Dr. Strange was like, well, that's not you. That's somebody else. Let that woman who's living that life live that life with her kids. And she was like, no, I want to be with my boys. That's the only thing that will make me happy. And she started tearing everything up so she could get what she wanted. And I'm just like, well, why don't y'all just give her what she wants? Like, I don't understand what would happen if y'all just give her what she wanted. And she wanted to be with her sons. I was like, just do it. Like, I mean, because I kept thinking, like, what is the harm in letting her actually do that? I mean, yeah, she'll uproot her parallel self, her life, but it's like, okay, that's something that her and her parallel self got to work out. But she really could have just had it from the get-go, and y'all could have avoided all this mess. She killed Professor X. She killed Captain Marvel. She killed Captain Britain. I was like, she done killed everybody. Mr. Fantastic. All that. I was like, how you gonna kill everybody in the movie trying to get to them kids? So that was that's a good segue for what I really wanted to talk about with the Scarlet Witch. So I was just watching this movie and I was sitting there thinking about like that the Scarlet Witch character was not inherently bad. She really wasn't. She was a woman on a mission, and her mission was to get to her kids. And I'm just like, she wasn't inherently bad. None of that stuff would have happened. They just really gave her what she wanted. But I was also thinking about the character itself kind of just represents the dark feminine. And I'm just like, man, you see how powerful she is, how nothing can be in her way, nothing can stand in her way. She was gung-ho and she was ready to get stuff done, and everybody was afraid of her. And I'm just like, you could have just worked with her and it wouldn't have been a problem, but instead they decided to get in her way, and so she did what she had to do, and she tore some stuff up. It was in the way. It was unfortunate, but I just thought it was interesting that she was pretty much a personification of the dark feminine energy, because that's what they would refer to dark feminine as, like witches and bitches and stuff like that. So I'm just like in awe watching this movie, because I'm just like, good grief, if that's the representation of dark feminine energy and how powerful it is, can you imagine that every single woman has that inside of her? She has like that power that literally can destroy a world if she wanted to, but she had all this creation energy too, because she was conjuring up things and she was putting together all that stuff so she can dream walk, and she was murking the game. Like, I was just like, dang, y'all should have just gave her what she wanted. I wouldn't have been in this mess. She tore up that whole Tibetan monk place, and I'm just like, give her what she wants. Just give her what she wants. But that was just something I thought about. I was just like, man, that dark feminine energy resides in every woman, and it's like, if we just tapped into a part of that power, we can do some stuff for real. But I was just amazed about it. And then I also wanted to talk about the character that they brought up, who they called America, the Latinx girl. She looked like she was 19, 20 tops. They kept calling her a kid, but I guess a 19-year-old is a kid to me too. They made it seem like she was a kid, like she was a teenager, like a 16 or 15-year-old. I was like, she's still an adult. But anyways, she was an interesting character because she was uniquely one of a kind. She was like, I don't have a parallel self. I'm the only one who can do these things. I can open up the portals to the other universes, and then she couldn't control it. And I felt like when you're at that state of young girlhood or young womanhood, that you do get into a point where you're trying to step into your power a little bit, but you don't understand how to control it very well. And I thought it was very fitting that they did choose a younger woman to fulfill that role, as being like this woman who has all this power. Like, she's one of a kind that exists in the multiverse, and she can do this amazing thing that nobody can do, but she also doesn't know how to control her power. And I feel like that was also a representation of a lot of women, I think most women, that we have this potential to do so much, and we're kind of don't know what to do with our potential. We're just kind of like, we can do it sometimes, but not all the time. And I'm just like, she could identify what triggered her to actually be able to do it. And I'm just like, I felt like Doctor Strange could have just mentored her at that point and said, you know, if you know it's fear, use that feeling and try to open up the portals that way. You don't have to be scared every single time. You just, whatever feeling that comes up when you're doing it, channel that feeling into controlling your power. And it made me think about the series on Netflix, has Black Lightning. And Black Lightning is another superhero that he exists in the DC universe, if I'm not mistaken. And if you watch the series on Netflix, you can see that he has a whole family, and it was actually a really good series. But his daughters came into their powers too. I think they were calling them metas in that series, but they were meta, and they had their own powers. And so his oldest daughter, when she was discovering her power and trying to control it so she could use it, however she wanted to, she noticed that it was in her breath work. Like, oh, it's when I breathe, I can do this. And so that's all I could think about when I was watching this movie, that America, like, what it does, like what it is, use that so you can control it. And I was like, nobody's telling her this. Watching the movie, I was like, I wanted to tell her it in the movie. I know that wouldn't have done nothing, but you know what I'm saying. I like to talk to the screen. But she was going through this whole ordeal chaotically, and it was like, if somebody could have just set her down and said, look, these people are after you. We need to train you so you know how to better control your power. Because, listen, if she knew how to control her power from the get-go, this wouldn't even have been a problem. She could have just gave old girl what she wanted. And, like I said, her parallel self would have had to duke it out with her. And then everybody would have gone about their day. Nobody would have cared after a while. But she didn't know. I mean, it's a movie. It had to be 2 hours long and all the other stuff. So, but I just thought it was so interesting that I feel like every woman goes through that path where she's finding she has this power, and then she's trying to figure out how to channel it, how to put it to good use, and not knowing how to do it. But she eventually does at the very end, because Doctor Strange dreamwalks into a zombie course of himself, and they go doing all kinds of things together and defeats the Scarlet Witch in the end. Well, she wasn't like defeated. Well, was she defeated? Yeah, he put her in that box. I don't remember what that is. Listen, like I said, I was never into Doctor Strange, so I don't know all the things with Doctor Strange, but dude put her in that box because he was the master wizard or whatever they called him. But she got defeated, but she wasn't killed, okay? But she was able to do it at the end, because she was like, I can't beat you. And I felt like that was a whole symbolic thing right there, where America looks at the Scarlet Witch and she's like, I can't beat you. You're too strong. And so she was like, I'll just give you what you want. And I'm like, how many of us have had that conversation with our shadow self? Like, I cannot beat you. I cannot defeat you. I can't whip you into submission. So I'll just give you what you want. So I just thought that was so deep. That one little scene, that one little clip. Like, I'll just give you what you want. And she did. And I was like, this is what they should have done from the beginning. And so the Scarlet Witch, ruined her whole fantasy of being with these children because she was being so savage and killing everybody, and that she scared her children, and that made her feel bad. Because I'm like, at the end of the day, she was still a woman. She was still a woman. She was still felt very deeply about what she wanted to do and her desire and her children. So it was like, this ain't it, sis. I gotta let it go. And I just thought it was so interesting, that whole, I just found so much symbolism in it, especially as far as like when you're talking feminine energy and metaphysics. It was just all very interesting. But I think it was a good movie. There was some dry parts, and I felt like all the Doctor Strange movies, there were dry parts. I really didn't care about him trying to get with his girlfriend or his ex-girlfriend from a gazillion years ago. You know, I mean, I guess there has to be some element of romance somewhere in there, but it was just kind of goofy. He went to his ex's wedding, and he had to show up. For what purpose, I don't know. And then he left, and he was all Doctor Strange with his cloak and stuff. And I'm like, you could have not went, but but all in all, I do think it was a good movie. Part of me wants to go back and watch the other Doctor Strange movie, because I feel like now I can get more out of it, that I understand some of that realm of metaphysics and all that energy work. I kind of want to go back and watch it, because it's even more interesting now than it was before. But that's all I got on the Doctor Strange movie. Let me know what you think about this. Did you see the movie? Did you like the movie? Are you a Marvel fan? Just put it in the comment section. Like this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.